Richard Skipper celebrates. Every show is a celebration. Each show, Richard delivers the artists you love, showcasing what makes them unique. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Happy Sunday, everyone, and welcome to Richard Skipper Celebrates. So here we are. We've made it through another week, or we're starting a new one, depending on what your perspective is. For those of you who have been here before, welcome back. And for those of you who are here for the first time, my show is all about celebration. It's about celebrating an artist and their body of worth. What makes them worthwhile? Just before I went on the air, I was listening to Sophie Tucker. Yes, Sophie Tucker. And she was talking about songs. And she said a song is timely. No matter when it was written, where you hear it, it has that resonance of being right there. And the same thing could be said of an artist, a great artist. And tonight, I am celebrating one of my favorites, and that's Michele Pawk. Tony Award-winning Michele Pawk. I've seen her on Broadway many times. I saw her just last year in Beautiful. I saw her in Seussical. And I also saw her, I had the good fortune, by the way, of sharing a stage with her at a benefit many years ago. So it's good to see her again tonight. And I also was lucky enough to see her in her Tony Award-winning performance in Hollywood Arms. And speaking of Tony Awards, let's just go back in time for just a moment. Michele, this is for you.
Good evening. I grew up in New Jersey and got my start in the theater. I've acted in plays for 30 years, from David Mamet to Warren Leight, and most people ask when they meet me, what's Rob Lowe really like? It's so nice to be home. The nominees for Best Performance by a Featured Actress in the Play are Christine Ebersole, Dinner at 8. Linda Emond, Life Times 3. Catherine Misley Tartuffe. Michele Pawk, Hollywood Arms. And Marion Seldes, Dinner at 8. And the 2003 Tony is awarded to Michele Pawk, Hollywood Arms.
Michele Pawk wins her first Tony Award for her portrayal of Louise in Hollywood Arms.
My gosh, I am overwhelmed. I have never, ever in my life been more proud to be a member of this community. Men kissing each other on stage, drag queens, children. It's a perfect world. As it should be. Thank you, thank you. I'm stunned. My play closed in January, so to have been remembered months afterward, I am incredibly, incredibly honored, and I thank you. And to be included in a sentence, let alone a category with the women that I was in with, I am so honored. I am fans of all of them, so thank you. I have to thank Catherine Regier and my dear friend Randy Mercer for making me feel like Cinderella. Geriatric Cinderella, but nonetheless Cinderella. It's never too late, girls. I need to thank Carol Burnett. Oh, no, it's way too soon. Carol Burnett Burnett and Carrie Hamilton for writing the most amazing play. Hal Prince for bounding into my dressing room like a 17-year-old boy. I'm so thrilled. I share this with that company, Linda Lavin, Frank Wood, Donna Lynn Champlin, and my kids. Thank you. Steve Himber, I love you. Thank you for believing in me forever. Richard Fisher and all at Abrams artists. Brad Rouse. My family who's up there, I'm sure having a heart attack right now. And my darling John Dossett, who I love more than I can ever say. Good night. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. I feel like Barbara Walters. Did I make you cry?
You should warn a girl before you do that. You know what? I'm sure I've watched it maybe once since it happened 1,000 years ago, but man, I have not seen that in a long time.
Wow. Did it bring back that excitement of that night? And I have to say, Elaine Stritch has nothing on you. Thank you for keep going. You know, when that music comes in, I can only imagine what that felt like. Well, you worked your life to get to that point, and they're going to take it away from you.
What's interesting, just listening to it now, do you hear how they got louder and louder? I remember that. You know, those moments, it's such an out-of-body experience. You know, you don't expect to win, and then it happens, and, you know, the world is just like turning. So...
Well, I feel like I'm doing a series now of Tony Award-winning actresses. I just had Karen Ziemba on this past week. And so I'm going to ask her the same question. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked her. Where do you keep your Tony?
It's actually back here in this room. Of course, you can't see it. It's so dark. But it's actually in this, what we call the Maplewood room. It's like a room off of our living room, and it's got all our prized possessions. The ball I caught at Wrigley Field. My husband had a trophy made for me because I caught a ball. I mean,
good.
Yeah, we've got like snow globes that Frank Wood made me, and yeah, just like 2 shelves of just like favorite things. So.
Well, I mean, there are so many areas that I want to cover tonight. I want to begin with where we are right now in the world. And I want to ask how you and John are both doing in the midst of this crazy time that we now find ourselves in. Really, how are you doing?
Well, thank you for asking. It's, you know, it's surreal. For the longest time, I kept thinking, you know, you're not allowed to be depressed. Don't be depressed. You get up and be productive and do all these things you said. But you know what? I was depressed. You know, it was kind of hard to motivate. So I'm super inspired by my friends who are like, hey, I wrote a sitcom. You read it, or here's my play. I'm like, I can.
Well, that brings me to my next question. How are you keeping creative during this time frame?
Well, I'm reading a lot and reading some of those books that I've always said I wanted to get to. So for that's like super joyous for me. I'm cooking a lot, good and bad, and all of it delicious in my house. I also teach now. I don't know if you knew that.
Of course, I was going to say Professor Pawk. I know all about it, Wagner College, and I want to talk about how that came about as well.
Yeah, I mean, of course I pursued it, but I was super lucky. It kind of fell into my lap. I didn't know I would be any good at it, and I didn't know if I'd really enjoy it as much as I do. And oh my God, it's been the gift of gifts. So that has kept me creative during this time. And my kids out there, they're inspiring. They put a mask on and they're singing and they're dancing. And it's, I keep thinking, okay, get up. We can do it. You know, these kids are graduating from college in the spring and looking at the world and wondering what it's going to be. And they've spent 4 years training. And
now, are you in Manhattan?
Well, the college is in Staten Island, but
I know that. But I mean, do you live in Manhattan?
No, we live in Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Orange, New Jersey.
So I have to ask you this question because, I mean, especially now, I say if you're married or if you have a partner or a spouse, or hopefully you both love each other, because I'm sure you've spent more time together over the past, well, let's see, it's been 269 days since the theater shut down. So if
Wow.
you can believe that. And so you have to love each other. How are you working that aspect of your life out?
Listen, I mean, and my husband and I talked. We talked about this. We were like, you know what? Either this time will either bring people closer together or it will separate them. I mean, because you are quarantined with that person. Look, but I happen to be quarantined with John Dossett, so every day is kind of delicious. Not gonna lie.
Absolutely. Now, we're going to go back and we're going to celebrate so many aspects of your life, but I want to go back. I know that you're originally from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Brothers, sisters?
Yes, two brothers and a sister, and they were all there that night. Like you could hear them screaming, unbeknownst to me, and certainly without my permission. They bought tickets to Radio City Music Hall that night. I was like, you guys,
Well, how could they not?
no, well, I was like, I'm not gonna win. It's like it's expensive, and there they were sitting in the balcony. So it was like.
Did you really, honest to God, feel that you were not going to win, or did you allow yourself at all to fantasize about winning?
To be really honest, I mean, again, I'd forgotten that I'd said this, but my play had closed months prior, and I was also.
I saw it.
You were like.
And I have to tell you, just last week, I interviewed Nicholas King. Can you believe this? I mean, the career he's had.
Well, he's like a celebrity now.
I know.
Well, he was a celebrity then. He was like, I can't come in after the show tonight because I have to sing at Liza's wedding. We were like, what? Did you say Liza?
Yes.
Liza? He was like, yeah, we're friends. I was like, okay. Sweet. What a sweet boy.
Such a mentor to him. But again, your parents, were they in the arts? Were you exposed to the arts growing up in Pittsburgh? Take us back to, as I like to say, the 5-year-old Michele Pawk, because to me, that is that time in a person's life before they've been encumbered with school and friends and everything, that the 5-year-old self to me is the authentic, true Michele Pawk.
The 5-year-old Michele Pawk was a gangly tomboy.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had trouble putting like 4 steps in front of myself without falling down or getting bloody. And my mother, who had been a dancer and a tumbler like all of her life, right? And so she said, "Oh my God, get this girl into dance lessons." And so I probably started not soon after that. You would never know it from my technique, but I was probably dancing by the time I was 8. Neither of my parents, though, entertained any professional sort of career. My dad was a dentist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But both of my parents were like, I was blessed, couldn't have been more supportive, couldn't have been more nurturing. My mom was tough too. She was also like, "Get your head up. What are you looking at the floor? Why are you looking at the floor? You're not going to find it down there." I was like, "Okay, good."
Well, good for her. Good for her. And did your siblings aspire to go into this business as well?
No.
I always think, isn't that amazing how in a family there's that one that says, "I've got to do this." Now, were you exposed to the arts in school? What kind of music did you listen to at home?
I went to a really small, I grew up in rural, like 45 minutes north of Pittsburgh. So it was very rural, like 7th through 12th grade in one school. And in that teeny little school, we had a drama teacher and a choir teacher that were extraordinary. Set the bar here. When they saw anybody that had any sort of talent at all, they nurtured us to death. So really that's, that in combination with my dance teacher who I studied with for years, who was just a gift. And my piano teacher, who was my uncle, who didn't practice all that much. And then he would say, "Well, it's clear you haven't practiced. So, do you want to sing?" And that's really how I started singing. was in my Uncle Vince's studio. And then my mom would come back and I would pretend that I was playing again. And he'd be like, that was good. Good lesson.
And at what point did she realize that you weren't getting the lessons that she thought you were getting?
Eventually, I think he told her, or she heard me somewhere. And then she was like, oh, wow. Okay. That's pretty good. And then my dance teacher, because again, I mean, if you've ever seen me dance, I'm not a dancer, right? I'm a good, I can throw my hair with the best of them. She started having me sing and do those kinds of numbers. So I was lucky in a very small rural community. We had so much arts advocates, I mean, on all levels. And my parents we would go into Pittsburgh and we saw Richard Kiley do Man of La Mancha. And so I was very lucky. I was very lucky, actually.
And what was the deciding moment where you said, I want this as a career?
Really? When I graduated from high school, and I would, I'd done my musicals and all that stuff all the way through. I went to a small liberal arts school in Meadville, Pennsylvania called Allegheny College. Great school. And as with all liberal arts colleges, at the end of your sophomore year, you have to declare a major. And I was, freaked out because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And that wasn't the kind of area where you thought, oh, I'm going to be an actor. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know. I didn't really love biology. I mean, I was kind of smart, but I didn't really think I was going to be nothing. And taking a lot of anthropology classes because I was really into it. And so I went to my dad at the end of my sophomore year when I had to declare and said, my dad, I don't know what to do. And my dad, gift of gifts from any parent, said, what do you love to do more than anything in the world?
God bless him.
I know, right?
Absolutely.
I know. So I was like, oh, well, I like to be on stage. So when he said, well, then that's what you should do. And so I ended up
Now that's the antithesis of most parents.
I realize how lucky I am. Yes. I realize without any like fallback plan, this was in the 80s, obviously. So who knew what was going on? He was just like, then that's what you should do. If you have to get up every day and do it, then, and my dad was that passionate about dentistry. Mm-hmm. He loved looking at like fungly mouths and teeth. And, I was like, okay.
So once that decision was made, did you actively start pursuing it?
I transferred, I auditioned at a couple of more intense kind of focused programs and ended up finishing at University of Cincinnati, the conservatory there.
Oh, wow. So many great people came out of that conservatory.
Where I met Becky Lilly, who was my college roommate. Did we meet through her?
We met through Becky Lilly. So if she's watching, Becky, I love and miss you. I haven't seen her in ages.
I love her. Oh, no, we're very close. We see each other.
No, I have to ask you, when you were college roommates, was she ruminating her Judy Garland, her inner Judy?
Nobody. She is a very good Judy. Did you see the show that she did? The Judy show? Yes. Oh, yeah. Incredible. Incredible. Yes.
Just amazing. Amazing talent. And I'd love to have you on, Rebecca. Call me.
See?
Yes.
Watching.
So you were college roommates. You were going to the Cincinnati Conservatory. And when, where, and how did you make the move to New York?
Yikes. I'm kind of an idiot and took a very circuitous route. Out of college, I got a job at Disney World in their nightclub there, where the A-frame where the tram goes through, and doing a Broadway review. And because of that, the woman who directed that lived in Los Angeles, and she said, well, hey, if you come to LA, I have some work for you. And so I moved to LA with a boy,
mm-hmm.
with the first husband.
Okay.
We weren't married then though, but we moved to LA together, and we lived out there for 7 years. Worked and did a little bit of TV, and mostly kept getting musicals that brought me back to New York. And finally I was like, okay, listen, stop being an idiot. Maybe you should just be here.
Now, you've had the good fortune of going back and forth between musicals and straight theater.
Mm.
Um, do you have a preference of one over the other?
Um, as I get older, I really enjoy anything that's new, like that collaborative process, talking and dissecting and searching and trying to find, like, I love that, whether it's a musical or not. I don't love to sing as much. This is a way longer story, but so I don't do as many
But
musicals.
you are a great singer.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Well, it's true.
Thank you. I prefer plays at this moment. Yeah. I think musicals are harder to do. I think to have to, and because I'm teaching it too, to have to justify why you break out into song. I mean, except for my friend Jason Butler Harner, who is a musical, like he sings everything out of his mouth is a song. But other than that, it's like, why am I singing? And I was like, oh yeah, why?
So you said you were in LA for 7 years. When you, how did the move to New York happen? And did your, I'm assuming by then, husband come with you, or did he decide to stay in Los Angeles?
The first, it was like 1987. My first Broadway show started at the Pasadena Playhouse, with all LA actors, and then we went to the Kennedy Center. That's Michael Rupert's show, a musical, and that brought me to New York, and then that was semi-short-lived, and then I went back to LA, and then I auditioned for Crazy for You. It was Crazy for You that brought me back here, and I flew myself across country twice to audition for that, and that was the one that once I got that, and Kevin came out here and he was with me then.
Now, what vibes, I mean, for those out there who are interested in pursuing this as a career, what vibes were similar to LA, and what was very different for you moving here as far as the business end of this business is concerned?
It's probably not fair of me to say on one hand, because I never found the sense of community that we have as New York actors. That theater community is so rich, and deep, and kind of thick. And even though I did theater in LA, it's not a theater town. So, and the town is very spread out, and I actually love my time there. I really enjoyed it, but I like to be alone too. So I would hop in the car, I would take my dog, and I would go to the beach, or I would hop in the car, take my dog, and I'd go to the mountains. I liked it, but it doesn't have the same sense of collaboration and camaraderie. And
you missed it at all?
Do I miss it? You mean now or out there?
No.
Oh, now? Oh, tremendously. Don't we all right now?
Yes.
The sense of community, I think, is the thing I miss the most. And just from all of us being in a room, not even actually working, but going to auditions and seeing the people that you know and love and have been up against for years in a room, and, finding out about their lives and hearing about what's going on. Yeah. No, I miss it a lot, actually.
Well, a lot's happened, especially in the last 10 years, when it comes to social media and the way that people go about getting work and getting the word out about their work. What have you embraced the most through these changes, and what have you resisted the most?
Oh, man. I hesitate to talk too much because I'm going to sound really old.
Well, we're the same age, regardless of whether you, so just put it out here.
Well, I have an AOL email account, if that tells you anything. And I'm just super late to social media. I have an Instagram account that I just forget to look at. Which is, when I first started, I was so excited by it. It was so much fun. And then you get busy and work and everything else. And so I'm not that good at it. And I like it. I like it when it's positive, and I like it when people are kind and they're taking care of one another. I really don't enjoy it when it's negative, and I don't enjoy people arguing, and I don't enjoy when it gets bitchy. I just don't.
No, I don't either. I'll be
Like,
very honest with you.
sure, right?
And let me ask you this, and I'm not going to go too deep with this, but we have gone and we are still going through a very political climate. And have you been political throughout your career? Do you speak out? Are you an activist? What are your thoughts? There are some people who feel that be very careful with what you put out there because you don't want to offend those that you may be working with in the future who have a different way of looking at things. What are your overall thoughts about all of that?
Look, I support anybody's beliefs and message. I do, even when they're not similar to my own. I enjoy hearing about them. Just because I don't subscribe doesn't mean I don't want to talk about them and embrace. And I love all of that. So my friends who have been, and I've posted marches that I went on, and sending love to friends of mine. I have no problem with anybody using their platforms for advocacy to move the conversation forward. I have no problem with it. I don't know that I've done that, but maybe I have. I don't know.
So it hasn't affected your career one way or the other because perhaps you haven't gone that far into it.
Well, I'm not in a negative way, certainly. And look, I'm old, so I, at this,
not old, older.
But older, thank you. But meaning, I sort of feel like anything I have to say, I stand behind. And if you don't like it, I'm so sorry, but then don't look in my page.
And I really miss the fact that we've gone so far in that direction where we can't listen to each other and celebrate the differences in each other and what everybody has to bring to the table. And we've gotten so tribal in this country. And I wonder if it will ever swing back.
I have hope that it will swing back. Of course, I have to hope for that. It's super interesting in our lifetime alone, Richard, to see how far the pendulum, swings, and now how polarized we are. And it's because I think of exactly what you said, which is like, just have a conversation. You don't have to agree with people. I am from rural Pennsylvania, where fundamentally a lot of people politically subscribe to something different than I believe.
Well, I'm from South Carolina, so I can say the same thing.
Yeah, that doesn't make them bad people.
No, of course not.
They're not wonderful. It doesn't mean that they shouldn't believe that and fight for that. That is their right to do so. Isn't that what democracy is about?
Well, the bottom line is that all of us are a product of what we've gone through. All of us are a product of where we've been and where we would like to go. And that's what it's all about. That's the simple thing. Some people operate from hope, and some people operate from fear. And that's my soapbox for the day.
It's beautiful. I agree.
Now, I do want to talk about Hollywood Arms because it was such an incredible performance, and I still remember it. Linda Lavin, of course, and little Nicholas King. How did the show come about for you? Were you called in to do this, or was it something you pursued?
Oh my, no, I auditioned, of course. And up until that point in my career, I'd only really done plays outside of New York City. I hadn't really done even off-Broadway. Most of my career had been musicals. And my friend, Brad Rouse, who at that time was Hal Prince's assistant, said to me, there's going to be this thing, you got to come in for this, but I'm going to take cabaret off your, I don't even know that Hal knows this. Well, now I never told him this story. Took it off of my resume because.
Now, I want to let everyone know that when she says cabaret, she means the show Cabaret.
Oh, yes.
not the art form of
No,
cabaret.
no, the show Cabaret, and I was in that 1998 Sam Mendes, Rob Marshall revival, and I think, you know, the original production, as it should be, was precious to Hal, and so my friend Brad
Oh, now I see it.
Oh, incredible, right? Took it off my resume, and so I came in and auditioned for them, and luckily for me, I think I reminded Carol of her mother.
Mm.
There were essence qualities about me or something
Did
like
you know a lot about the story itself? Had you read Carol's book?
I hadn't at that point. No, of course, then I did a deep dive, but no, and to be really honest, I think I had one call. I think I had one audition for that, which is insane because now, you know, you're like 18 auditions and 35 pages of material. But, you know, Hal Prince,
Working with Hal Prince, Carol Burnett, and Carrie Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yes. So what was the experience like creating a role that was so close to Carol's heart?
Listen, I in all of my days, you know, and I'm sure you've met a lot of your icons as well over the course of our lives, right? I don't know that I've ever met someone I revered as much, that I found as generous and even more generous and loving and supportive than she was to me during that time. She was the first one to say, listen, it's a play. It's a work of art. We created this piece. You're not playing my mother. And that, even though I was, you know, in the scheme of it, that was so freeing to me. She took the onus off of me, and that I didn't have to imitate someone, which was really a gift.
And at what point did you realize, or did you realize, the gold that you had at in your hands with this role?
Oh man. I mean, I think I knew it in and when I say gold, like for me to be in the room with Hal Prince, Carol Burnett, Linda Lavin, Frank Wood, Donna Lynn Champlin, I mean, it doesn't quite get any better than that.
That's an amazing cast and crew.
Right? To be in the sandbox with artists of that caliber, I mean, I just wanted to do it forever.
I wish that it did go on longer. Why do you think it didn't run longer than it did? Because it was an amazing piece of theater.
Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that, because I mean, obviously, I think so too. It's so special to me, and just in the what it was, the play itself, I just thought was incredible. So I don't know why. I wonder if people thought Carol was going to be in it. Maybe
perhaps they were expecting it to be, because it was Carol Burnett, you know, a big, you know, fall down comedy, and that you think that's it?
I think that might be something too. And it certainly wasn't. It was the story of her life, and there was a lot of humor in it, but the story of her life was complicated and wrought with strife and overcoming obstacles, and that's the play that they wrote. So maybe I don't know.
Now, I want to go back to the Tony. Where were you when you found out that you had been nominated?
Ironically, I was at the theater, at the Goodman Theater in Chicago, where we had done it the first time.
Wow.
I know. I was working on Hal Prince, Steve Sondheim, John Weidman musical called Bounce, which later became Roadshow. But we
did you stay with that through Washington as well? So Jane Powell was also in the production.
Yes.
Oh wow, that's great.
Howard McGillen and Rich Kind, and it was incredible. I know that was you know, sometimes I don't know, this business there, it's such a crapshoot sometimes. You know, there you are in again, working with like just icons, people I had revered my entire life.
Well, let me ask you this regarding everything. How much of your career would you say is a result of your being very proactive, and how much of it as circumstances of roles coming your way?
Look, I was proactive in the sense that I'm a hard worker. I prepare. So when the opportunity did come my way, I was ready for it. But to be really honest, I mean, Richard, there was a lot of luck involved in all of the good fortune that I've had. I was lucky that the dice rolled my way. It doesn't make me any more talented than any of the other, women that I've gone up against a million times. So there's
Well,
a
the
little
fact that
bit.
you do this amazing role on Broadway, the show unfortunately closes, and like most actresses, you go on with your life, you're on to the next, and then you get a phone call that you've been nominated for a Tony Award. That must have felt like a boomerang coming at you.
It did feel a little out of body, and all I thought was what I said to you was, "Oh my gosh, someone saw the play! I'm so happy. That's so great! Oh my God!"
Yes.
I didn't think, it really, we were short lived, which was unfortunate. So, and I was happy for Carol and for Carrie, who had passed away the year prior, that it was recognized at all. So I was happy for them too.
And how do you feel, if at all, that the Tony Award changed your career?
I think right afterward, it got me into some rooms I might not have gotten or had ease getting into, I should say that, especially for film and things like that. Um, Other than that, it is a little surreal. You always have this like thing in front of you. Have a little thing in front of your name now.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. And that's amazing, but I don't know that it changed a whole lot for me. Maybe it did, and I'm not aware. I don't know. I'm grateful. I'm really grateful.
Well, I want to ask you, and there's a reason I'm going to go in this direction now. But with all the people that you've worked with, who are some of the biggest mentors? Some of them you've already named here, that have really played a crucial part in the development of your career moving forward.
Oh man, I think, Mike Ockran and Susan Stroman and Sam Mendes and Rob Marshall. I mean, well, I just worked with the incredible Danya Tamor in this play at Playwrights last year. And you're in the presence of greatness when you are later recalling things that they've said, weeks later, you're thinking, oh, I get that now. Oh, I've been lucky to be in a lot of really, Scott Ellis, and I'm sure I'm forgetting like a trillion, Hal Prince, Steve Sondheim, John Weidman, actors, Dennis O'Hare.
Mhm.
I'm a tennis player. When I play tennis against someone who's better than I am, I play better.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I think it's the nature of what we do, right? They set the bar up here and you're like, okay, I will get to it. And so to be on stage with people who just are alive and present and, throwing it right back at you, and Kathleen Marshall and, the Lynn and Steve, Flaherty and Aarons. I mean, I just am like, I've been really lucky.
And it's also the collaboration. It's the people that you work with, the people that you meet along the way. And that brings us to Professor Pawk. How did that come about?
Well, let me put my glasses on, Richard. Yeah, no, I to be really honest, I was auditioning for, listen, actually, I'm going to go back. The turning point in it was our boy, Jack, who I gave birth to right before Seussical started. And then when he was young, super easy to have a baby and kind of do what you do, and he's on your schedule. Then all of a sudden, he's going to school all day, you're doing shows at night, you're gone all weekend, the holidays are terrible. And I started when he was about 10. I was not happy. I just wasn't happy going to work. And even though the work was great and I was really enjoying what I was doing, I thought, oh, I'm missing my son's life and I don't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I pursued this, oh gosh, it was crazy. I'm at an audition and my friend Randy Graff was we were in the waiting room. Yeah. And I was like, oh, Randy, I don't know what's going on, man. I'm just not happy. I think I want to teach. And she goes, well, I graduated from Wagner College and they threw like a doctorate at me. And she said, so I have some connections out here. Do you want me to like put you in touch with someone? And I said, yes, please. That would be so kind. Right. And she did. And I went out to Wagner and did a master class. And then literally like 4 months later, I get this random phone call saying from the chair of the department, Dr. Felicia Ruff, who's a very good friend of mine now. She said, listen, we have a job opening. You know, do you want to throw your hat in the ring for it? And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, never thinking I'd get it again. I was just like, she had to tell me what a CV was. I didn't even know what it was. I was like going to hand them my performance resume. I had no idea what it was. And I literally, and she laughs about it now, but so I get through the first hoop and the second hoop is like a phone interview with everybody in the department. And I was in New York City and I literally went to a playground, my son's playing. I'm thinking, these people are going to think I'm insane. And sure enough, then I met the then president of the college. And it's a beautiful school. It's a beautiful department. I love the kind of kid that goes there. And they're not kids. They're young adults. Mm-hmm. In case any of them are
kids. They're kids.
Well, they're kids to me. But they're like kind of my kids too. Like I get to know each of them so intimately. And just super excited for them.
Well, it may sound like I'm putting you on the spot with this next question, but what is it that you bring to the table as a teacher and as a professor at Wagner College?
I mean, I hope I bring a lot, and I hope I bring more than I talk about now. But on the obvious stuff is, I still practice. I'm a practicing artist or teaching artist, right? And so, and the business continually changes. So I bring that, and I bring my fancy friends, in to do master classes, which is nice. So I still have my sort of fingers in the pie over there. But I think I also bring something that I've found, like over the years that I've been teaching there. I feel like this business gets harder and harder, and the kids coming through it and who are training put so much pressure on themselves. And on the one hand, they need to, and the training is rigorous, and that I support wholeheartedly. But on the other hand, I think I remind them that this is really fun. And if you're not having fun doing this, it's like my dad said, if you don't love this more than anything, then you should do what it is that you love, right? So I think to remind them, like, I'm not gonna perform surgery on anybody today, so nobody's gonna die. So sing a song, tell them, do a monologue. It should be fun, like that part of the journey.
Without naming names or a specific situation, was there ever a time in your career where you were not having fun?
Oh, yes. And you're correct. I will not name names.
I know. My show is about celebration.
No, and for whatever reason, it might not have been any of their faults. It might have been expectations that I had. It might have been, just personal, clashing personality things. So
what I do want to know is how you got through it.
I go home at the end of those days, those rehearsal days, and I remind myself why I do what I do. I go back to my own artistry, and I go back to my own path. It's also the thing, I talk to my students a lot about, which is everybody's on their own path. There is no one journey in this business. You can talk to Adam Driver. You can talk to, Jane Hudishell. Or, yeah, Hudishell. How do you?
That's right.
Right. Okay. Sorry. I didn't want to mispronounce her name. Every one of us has had our own trajectory. So, why do you do it? Why do you get up? And
then we all get thrown into this big melting pot called the theater.
But if you stay true to why it is that you're doing it, and if you just want to get better and you just want to work on this little part of it, it keeps you grounded and it calms some of the noise.
And with everything that you have done, are there bucket roles that are out there that you want to do? What is the one thing that you haven't done in your career that you would love to do? Because you've acted, you've sung on Broadway, you've danced, you've produced, you've directed, and now you teach.
I teach. I'm the president and board chair of a theater company out in New Jersey. So I've added that. I'm now a council
theater company. Let's give them.
Oh, it's American Theater Group. We nurture new work. We have an extensive community outreach program, which I am really, really inspired and proud to be a part of. So as soon as we return, the world returns.
Now, are you in the classroom now, or are you teaching virtually?
No, I was in the classroom all semester. Yeah. With masks. That's like Wagner really did it well. We had mandatory testing every week. Our students were vigilant about masks. I mean, and we were socially distanced in our classrooms. We had doors going. We did it right. They built an outdoor stage for us so that we could perform. So we had a lot of performance opportunities even this fall. It was freezing sometimes. My kids are doing Shakespeare out there, and we're
Let me ask you this: based on all the precautions that they put in place at Wagner, and of course we don't know the answers to this. It's all speculation. How do you see the theater coming back?
Oh, you want to wave a magic wand and say it's going to just be what it was, but I don't know that it will be what it was. Certainly not right away. I think it'll be slow going. And I wonder, I don't know, I'm not speaking from any sort of knowledge, but I wonder if there'll be more of a live streaming component to seasons.
Has that been an easy or a difficult adjustment for you?
I don't love it. I don't love it. I have had to work on it and understand that it's a separate medium and try to wrap my head around it and make my own personal adjustments. But that's hard for me. I mean, I'm abroad.
Well, as I said at the beginning of the interview, and it's hard for me to even say this, it's been 269 days. March 12th, that was the day where everything changed for all of us in this business. What did your calendar look like just before this all happened?
Literally, the night Broadway shut down, my son and I had tickets to see Jagged Little Pill.
Wow.
And we got an email. I was like, what? What?
And Six was scheduled to open that night.
Oh God!
Imagine those were in, and the producers and the entire community that goes beyond that you worked for this moment.
Oh, I know.
And it's just taken away, with no warning whatsoever. Did you have any clue with what you were hearing in the news or anything that this was going to unfold the way it did?
No, I don't think anybody did. We've been living with the flu for years and years and years. So, my expectations were that it was going to be similar to that. Yes, wash your hands a lot. Yes, I don't touch any doorknobs. I already do that. And I kept thinking, okay, but we'll be fine. I had no idea it would spread so, it was so transmittable at all.
Wow.
And here we are singing, so talking about spreading droplets.
I know.
They're flying.
I am so fascinated with you as a teacher. I would love to just come and sit and watch you in class. No, I would love that. How do you plan a curriculum for a semester?
Syllabus, really. And what I've learned over time, and it was very good advice. The chair of our department said to me, it's always easier to have too much work on there. And it's always easier to take things away than it is to add things once the students have seen how you've broken it down for the semester. And that was very good advice. So I literally go class to class to class.
Now,
what we will be covering. I do the whole semester that way.
Speaking of advice, what's the greatest piece of advice you've gotten in this business? Other than your father saying, if you have fun, go after it.
I don't know that this came from this business, but life is short, so grab it. Just grab it. Grab it.
And as we've mentioned at the beginning, you live in a 2-artist household. How have you been able to compartmentalize the artistic aspect of your life and career and separate that from the rest of your life?
It's so interesting, and we've been together like 26 years now. And I don't know whether we're unique. I don't, but any success of his is a success of mine. So, and that's just sort of the way our whole lives have worked. Mm-hmm. It's been really nice to have a support system during this like crazy time. And my husband, who's a successful, like incredible, Broadway actor,
phenomenal,
has lost all like sense of, what he does, his foundation. And so, he's been creative by ripping up carpets. I mean, it's incredible.
Does he make house calls?
Believe me, we've got enough projects over here that he'll be busy for another.
That's good.
I'm so grateful that, we've been auditioning for a lot of television stuff together and separately. And, we're each other's camera persons and doing all of that. Hey, before I get sidetracked, I wanted to mention that I team teach a bunch of classes and with like 2 extraordinary women. I did Wendy Bobbitt-Cavett, who's the MD over, she's at Come From Away on Broadway right now. I know, like I teach with that. So part of what is creative about that is, I have her, and I also teach with Dr. Lori Young, who's like just incredible maestro. So I
love the fact that you tap into the connections that you've made along the way and that you bring that into the workforce with what you do with Wagner College as well.
Yeah. I mean, Wendy's a great example of that. And same with Teresa McCarthy, who I also teach with, incredible actress. And she's now a full-time faculty member out there too. I mean, I had met her, we've known each other for years as in this business. So no, we're lucky. We're lucky, and we're also lucky that each of us are just the kind of people that we just still all want to learn. We all just want to get better, and they're so good that there's plenty to learn from them.
That's that. And what's next for you?
Well, I'm reading an Ann Patchett novel right now called State of Wonder that I'm very into. I'm in chapter 4, and I have to pace myself or I will eat it up. I'm teaching online with Wendy this winter, which we've never really done. So, and it's like hard and fast. So it's 3 days a week, 3 hours each class. But we're doing a version of Sherry Sanders' pop rock class called Rock the Audition, where because look at the kinds of musicals. I mean, back when I was auditioning, you didn't have to have a pop song in your book. You know, Les Mis was just sort of coming into Les Mis and, you know, all that stuff. But now these kids have to have a Motown song, a 70s folk rock, an 80s stuff. And they have to know what that is, what that feels like to live like truthfully in those kinds of styles. So we teach this class. It's shared.
Wonderful. Well, I can't believe this, but we are at the end of our program. I hope it was fun for you. I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. If you enjoyed the show, and I hope you did, please go to my website if you haven't done so already, richardskipper.com. Sign my guest book with your thoughts about the show. That helps to boost me and other markets. And I want to let you know, if you're all around, that tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock, I'm going to be sitting down with Bob Egan, who is an amazing man. And he used to book me years ago all over New Jersey. So I'm indebted to what he's brought to the table for me. I also end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Go to your Facebook friends list. That is, if you're on Facebook, go to the fifth name on the list, reach out to them, and let them know what they mean to you. And if you're not on Facebook, just go to the fifth name, Michele, in your address book and reach out and let that person know what they mean to you. And I also want to give you the final word. Anything you want to talk about anything that we talked about tonight that you want to expound upon, anything that we didn't mention that you wish we had, or just any message that you want to put out to everyone at this point. And again, Michele, I love you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much for asking me. No, honestly, I feel like I want to know what's going on with you a little bit. So
we'll talk later.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you telling people how you're dealing with this?
Well, this is it. I mean, I will tell you, I started doing this in March. I'm almost up to 100 interviews. And this, keeping my focus on you and everyone else, has taken my focus off of everything, which is perfect for me. And it gets me through each day. So I'm doing better than most. As my dear friend David Friedman says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This was a lovely hour, really. A lot of memories.
Thank you. And you have a wonderful evening. And say hello to John for me.
I will. I totally will.
Thank you. Have a good night.